Welcome to
Good
the
to go.
second webinar. Okay. Welcome to the second webinar hosted by the Suncoast District Training Committee. I'm a unit training chair. Now what? We're going to discuss the roles and responsibilities of the unit training chair in both Cub Scout and Scouts BSA units. And we're also going to share some of the tools and resources available to you, including a walkthrough of the My.Scouting Training Manager tool, where we track all of our trainings. We're going to cover best practices, and we'll have some time for a Q&A at the end as well. And as I mentioned, if you have a question specific to what we're discussing at that moment, especially with the slides on the My.Scouting Training Manager, you can either put it in the chat or you can raise your hand and we'll call on you. If it's just training in general and not specific to that slide, please put it either in the chat or hold that till the end, and we will do Q&A at the end as well. So let's start by meeting our team. We have Jen Faraz, our West Pasco training lead, Tim Four, our East Pasco training lead, and I'm Nicole Hahn, the Suncoast District training chair. Jen, if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I am a committee member for a PAC, 2 troops, and a ship in Suncoast. Also help with the committee and some council events, as well as the council range and target team.
Thanks, Jen. Tim, if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a den leader in PAC in Suncoast. I'm a Scouter Reserve in a troop in Fort Brooke, as well as a East Pasco training chair. And I'm enjoying what I do and always looking for more opportunities.
Thanks, Tim. And again, I'm Nicole Hahn. I've been in Scouting America for 19 years. And while my son is grown, I'm still here in Scouting because I truly believe in this program. I started out as a den leader and a committee member in Cub Scouts, and then I was training chair for my son's troop and then the committee chair for the troop. I was the District Eagle Advancement Chair prior to my current position as the District Training Chair. And I've done a couple other things in the middle and wear multiple hats just like all of you do. And I'm also the course director for this fall's Wood Badge course. So I hope to see lots of people from your units at the course this fall. So let's get started with why we're here tonight, to talk about the unit training chair position. We've all heard the saying that every scout deserves a trained leader, but what does that really mean in practice? A trained leader is more comfortable, more knowledgeable, more confident, and can help lead and grow both the youth and the adults, as well as the training program itself. Our trained leaders allow us to maintain safety and expertise at our activities so it can be the best experience possible for everyone involved. You as the training chair can help ensure that's happening in your units. So here are a couple things that we're going to cover tonight. We're going to cover what your role actually is and what it's not, how to find and to use training reports, how to spot and fix gaps in training, and how to stay ahead of training opportunities, and some simple best practices that make the role more manageable. So what does a unit training chair actually do? You're going to keep track of who's trained and who isn't, help leaders understand what trainings they need to be considered fully trained in their position, and also what trainings the unit needs to be able to run the scouting program. Encourage and support completion of trainings, and keep the unit leadership informed. Also raising the awareness of any leaders who are eligible for training awards. And we're going to talk a little bit more about all of this a little bit later on. So how do you fit into the unit as the unit training chair? You're going to work very closely with the committee chair. You're going to also partner with the unit leader, meaning the Cub Master or the Scout Master, and you're going to support all of the registered adults in your unit. When a unit is well trained, everything's going to run smoother, your program quality improves, and your leaders feel more confident, and your youth benefit the most from this. So Jen is going to be doing a walkthrough of the My.Scouting Training Manager capabilities in a moment. If you need access to the training manager, if you don't already have that when you log into My.Scouting, if you don't see what she's showing on her screen, you're going to want to talk with one of your key 3 in your unit. So probably your committee chair, but it can also be your Cub Master, Scout Master, or your chartered org representative. They'll be able to go into their own My.Scouting, and they're going to go to, first they're going to go to Organization Manager, and then they're going to go to Position Manager, and then they're going to click on Functional Roles tab, and then from there they'll assign you as the unit training chair. Otherwise, it's not going to show up when you try to log into your My.Scouting profile for you to be able to access. If you happen to be in charge of multiple units, such as like a boys troop and a girls troop, or a pack and a troop, you'll have to be assigned the same way in each of those units for you to be able to see the information for each of those units. So if you don't have access, please talk with your committee chair or any of the key three in your unit. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jen to do a walkthrough of the MyDot Scouting Training Manager. Jen, it's all yours.
Thanks, Nicole. So training reports are accessed through the my.scouting.org website. This is the same portal where your safeguarding youth training, now SYT, formerly YPT, or any other online training is completed. You'll log in with your regular username or your Google or Apple account if you set up the single sign-on option. The menu is accessed using the navigation link at the top left of the My Scouting dashboard. It has 3 lines. You may also know this as the hamburger button. Depending on your role in the unit, there may be more or fewer menu options under the organization section than shown here. Key 3 or Key 3 delegates will see more unit options, whereas if your role is only the unit training chair, you will just see the 3 links highlighted at the bottom. The training manager link will get you to a dashboard summary for both SYT and position training reports. The Safeguarding Youth report and the Trained Leader report links will display those detailed reports immediately. Let's take a look at the Training Manager dashboard, which is the last option in this example menu. The Training Manager displays a summary of the registered adult status for both types of your required training. This is also your launch pad for searching for specific types of non-position training like BALU or aquatics, or for adding training taken out of council. We'll visit those menus a little bit later. So looking at the Safeguarding Youth report, we can see the snapshot of the annual mandatory training on the right-hand side of the screen. This unit currently has all adults up to date. The summary does show that within the next 1 to 2 months, almost half of the unit will expire. Because this May 31st is the deadline for all leaders to complete the new SYT training, we'd expect to see right now in most units a high number of expirations. So let's look at the Safeguarding Youth report now in detail. At the top of the report pages, you'll find some quick shortcuts to export the report results. If you want to download the data to a spreadsheet for sorting or archiving or to send to another leader, you can use one of these buttons here. The Export to CSV option will include all details shown in the online report, including leader contact information. The Export to CSV minimum will include only the adult name, member ID, and expiration date. The report by default is sorted alphabetically by last name, as shown in this image here on the left. These reports are from a real unit, so I've removed the identifying information from each one. Of course, in your live reports, you would see the first and last name of each member. For a quick way to see upcoming expirations in order, you can use the Sort Ascending option under the Effective Through column as shown here. In this unit, because of that changeover from YPT to SYT, we have that block of adults who have yet to take the new course and have the May expiration dates. From the dates in the Y01 completed columns, all being in 2024 or early 2025, I know that the last course they took was the old YPT and they're not just early adopters of the new SYT. Note that the old YPT course, the new 90-minute SYT, and the 20-minute annual renewal, they all use the same course code of Y01. So the reporting screen will not differentiate between those who have most recently done the new SYT or the refresher. And also important to remember that in order to act as a registered adult volunteer, including staying overnight at a campout as a leader, the adult's SYT training must be current. So going back to the Training Manager dashboard, now we'll look at the position training report. At the bottom, there's a handy link right here to view the position requirements if you need to reference what is required for each role for your leaders. This link is a PDF to position training for all unit types, packs, troops, shipped, as well as district. So once you click that, you can scroll to the type of the unit you're reviewing to see the details. Looking at this trained leader summary here for this unit, we have 8 leaders who have either not completed the position training or who had training that has expired. The hazardous weather training is the course that outside of the SYT will cause a previously trained adult to fall out of compliance. In early 2025, the training reports were updated to accurately reflect that hazardous weather must be repeated every 2 years. So if you have longtime leaders who had never repeated it in the past and are wondering why you're now asking them to take it again, it's because of that change. It had always expired every 2 years, but before last year, most units were not easily able to track that in this reporting tool. So who needs to complete hazardous weather in a unit? Well, all leaders are recommended to take the training, but it is required for direct contact leaders. Direct contact leaders are the ones that are typically considered to be hands-on with the youth and attending campouts and events, like den leaders and assistants, scoutmasters and assistants, or ship and crew leaders outside of the committee. Another common cause of longtime leaders showing is not trained, is due to a role change in the unit. A leader who moves from the youth program side, such as a den leader or an ASM who switches to committee, will need to complete the training for their new role. As we saw in the Safeguarding Youth report, there are some export options up here at the top. This report also adds the option to group by assigned position. This can be helpful if you're working with a large unit for visibility, or if you want to share a portion of the report with a Key 3 leader. For example, if you want to let the Scoutmaster know where just their ASMs are on training. Clicking on the triangles on the side of the section will open up the report just for those positions. So that can be a good way to shrink down a large report in the bigger units. So let's take a look at a sample report for position training. The default review is again sorted by last name, like the SYT report. And on this screen, I've called out some areas to look at individually. So in the report train column, you can quickly sort by train status equal to yes or no. This is a quick way to get all of your adults in need of attention to the top. Unlike the summary report on the previous slide, this sorting is not going to be grouped by position type. It would just sort all the no's to the top. So let's take a look at the first leader on this list. This is a committee member who's completed their mandatory youth protection training, which is the only mandatory training for committee members. The rest of the training is their position-specific training, and this can be done in a classroom setting when it's offered at a training event like a council training weekend or University of Scouting, or it can be done online at any time in the My Scouting portal. The training only needs to be completed once, either in the classroom or online. This leader has opted to do the training online. However, they've not yet completed one of the required modules to be fully trained. The specific modules detailed for each course code, like this SCO 474, is listed in that position requirements PDF that I pointed out on the training manager dashboard. For item number 3, we can see an example of a leader who completed the classroom training. This leader is the unit Scoutmaster, so they have 3 mandatory training modules to complete as a direct contact leader, unlike the committee member. We can also see from the report that the Scoutmaster started to do the online training modules, but then had the opportunity to complete in person. So even though these online modules are not complete, because only one of the options, the classroom or the online, is required, and they did the classroom, this leader is currently fully trained. 2 lines before that, you can see the committee chair of this unit decided to do them both online and in person. So let's pause to mention our chartered organization representatives, or our CORs. Often this individual is part of the entity that's sponsoring our scouting unit, like a church or patriotic organization, and they may not have much visibility into the unit operations or being an active scouter. So getting this individual to complete their COR training may require some persistence. As the COR is the only member of the Key 3 who can assign roles in the unit to adults or approve your new adult applications or annual unit recharter, getting this individual to complete their training and have a better understanding of their role in their unit is valuable, although can sometimes be challenging. So for item number 5, we have 2 assistant scoutmasters who need to finish training. Neither one has completed their S11 training, which is the Introduction to Outdoor Leadership Skills, or IOLS. IOLS can only be completed in person, and it is an overnight training. Our council offers this training typically every 3 to 4 months. You can find an upcoming one on the calendar on the tampabayscouting.org website, or Troop Summer Camp is another great opportunity to complete IOLS. If a leader attends IOLS out of council, their training record will need to be manually entered into the GTBAC records, which we'll review later in this presentation. In addition to IOLS, one of these assistant scoutmasters has also out of compliance with their hazardous weather, which is the SCO 800, or they completed that training more than 2 years ago. So returning to the training manager dashboard, let's look at running a custom report under reports. This is helpful for checking in on upcoming hazardous weather training expirations or seeing which leaders in a Cub Scout pack are Baloo trained and able to facilitate a pack overnight, for examples. Activities such as aquatics, climbing, or range and target also have their own specialized trainings you can run reports on here. On the reports page, we'll see some shortcuts to training reports outside of the main dashboard links. You may prefer these to the ones we reviewed from the dashboard. And as you get more familiar with the portal, you can decide which options are the most helpful for your particular needs. I do want to note right now at this time that this not trained report actually currently returns both trained and not trained, as the report does on the training manager dashboard. The specific training course report here lets us search for training all leaders in the unit who have completed that training. So let's use the specific training course report search, and we're going to pick multiple courses at once for this example. Let's say I'm a Cub Scout pack planning a pack camp out at our local scout camp. There's a pool on site and we want to go swimming. So we'll need at least one Baloo leader to hold our overnight and a lifeguard or swim water rescue trained leader to be responsible for the pool usage for the pool activity and additional adults trained in safe swim defense to help monitor. I can select all of these trainings from my report. So our report here shows all the matching adults in the unit for the courses that we selected in that search box, but you do need to check those expiration dates. We can see in this report that many of these course completions are expired. For example, there are 3 swim water rescue leaders here, but only one of them has not expired. You can use the sort arrows in each column to adjust your report view. Using these reports in your event planning well in advance can ensure you have adequate supervision for your unit activities and give adults time to take or redo training as needed. You can see in this report, a lot of these leaders are expired, including almost all of the safe swim defense as well. So to prepare for that camp out, if we were a Cub Scout pack, we would have to get that refreshed before that activity. So here's a sample report for hazardous weather training. Troop overnight trips require that at least one leader in attendance have current training. So this is a good one to check up in advance of expiration, just like the SYT reports. Note that these reports can be sorted by the last date taken, but not by the expiration date. And it also lists all members, whether expired or not. So here we do have a few leaders with expired hazardous weather. These may be committee members and no longer camp, so this expiration would not affect their trained status on the main dashboard training reports, which is maybe why a couple of these adults in this example have been expired for some time. Like this top leader who's now been expired for 5 years. I'm going to assume that's a committee member. Right, so let's look at manually entering training. Many units travel outside their local area for summer camp or they take specialized training. These records will not be automatically entered as different councils don't have access to each other's council membership records. The unit training chair can enter the trainings into the portal once the training completion has been verified. Typically, when you go to summer camp, you're going to get these little cards to turn in to your unit training chair, or there will be a report from camp. It's important to keep accurate records for safety, but also so that trained leaders can be a resource for your unit. Trips could be canceled for a lack of trained leadership, when in fact there were leaders available whose training had not been updated with our home council. You can also reach out to your district training chairs for assistance with training records. So how do we manually add training? Remember, from our dashboard on the left side of the menu, we have our add search button here. So let's add a lifeguard training. This adult's provided a copy of their certificate card to their training chair from their training taken in 2024. Because it wasn't taken at a home council event, it's never been entered into their record. Although it does expire soon, we'll go ahead and enter it now for this demonstration. So from the drop-down in the first row, we'll select the program. If the training is specific to a Scouting America program, like Cub Scouts will be Baloo, or Scouts BSA would be IOLS, or we pick other if it's a universal training. Lifeguard is applicable to all unit types, so I select other. And then I'll pick the course from the next drop-down that populates, and I'll enter the completion date from their certification card. The next step is to search for the individual to apply this training to. So from the search results, when I put their first name, last name in and click search, hopefully they're going to pop up here. I check that adult, and then I click the add member button to add them to the list. You can add multiple individuals here. So if you have a group of leaders that have attended the same training together, like troop leaders that all took ILLS together at summer camp, you would enter them all here at the same time. So for that example, I would pick Scouts BSA for the training type, Introduction to Outdoor Leadership Skills here, the date, and then I could search for multiple adults and add each one to the list. Once I'm finished adding members to the list, there will be a list here that will pop up as I add each one with the submit button. And once I click submit, it will record the training on their council record. Once a course has been added, you do not have access to remove it from their record. So double check all details, especially if it's a training with an expiration date. And you can reach out again to your district training chair if you have any questions about report inaccuracies. Records should be reflected in the specific training course report immediately once they are entered. But if it's a training that impacts the training manager dashboard graphs like SYT or the required position training, those graph summaries may not update until the following day. Now that we've covered what information is available to you in the My Scouting Training Manager, Tim is going to discuss your next steps for that data. Tim?
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I just hit take control and it ran away from me. 1 second.
We can see it, Tim.
That's great. I can't control it. All right. There we go. I'll just go to the right page again. Pardon me while I do this. It was funny. I literally just left the screen, like right as I hit the button. While I'm getting to the right slide, Jen provided a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions or anything they wanted to bring up while I'm getting to the right place? Great. So I'm going to cover what to do with all of that wonderful reporting that Jen just shared. And it's important to note that you have access to a phenomenal amount of information, and there's going to be questions that come up that Nicole pointed out to me just the other day in one of her notes. You're not required to have the answers to everything. It's just where to find it. That's important to remember. And so a lot of things that Jen covered, you're not going to be asked to remember everything all the time. It's just remember how to find it. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is one of the things that is important to do in your new role, or a role that you already have, is to identify gaps. So what I like to try to remember is that a training chair position is meant to be a guiding light for your unit, not necessarily the training police. With that being said, these are the three primary big picture items of responsibility: the expired safeguarding youth training, missing position specific training, and new leaders with no training at all. It's important to pay attention to those three things, and then everything else that comes in after it. Like I said, everything else. So as with anything, there's a priority list for this position. The first is SYT. Always. Safeguarding youth training is going to be number one when it comes to prioritization for any kind of unit training. All leaders that have a scout facing position must have an updated SYT certification, and I'll touch a little bit more on that in the next slide. The next priority item is key leadership position specific training, like den leaders, scoutmaster, cubmaster, etc. Then it's everything else. So this is where I encourage getting to know your leaders and your parents. If you notice that someone has a fondness for talking about first aid, you might say, hey, have you considered becoming a merit badge counselor? Or maybe you have someone that volunteers to help a lot They just haven't stepped forward to take the plunge into Cub Scout leadership. That to me sounds like a great candidate for a committee member or even a den leader. So getting to know those folks in your units is key to help you with everything else. All right, there was a question just popped up in the chat, and I want to go ahead and take a moment to pull that up. How far in advance should we be pinging leaders of their training needs? They receive emails that they need to recertify. Correct. Yes and no. I recommend at the beginning of each year, school year, for instance, taking a look into those if they are a key leader that is scout facing in their position. And yeah, you want to touch base with them in the beginning of the school year specifically, or if they're getting ready to expire within the next 90 days, give them a heads up. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But I prefer one-on-one communication, direct, instead of blasting a bunch of emails out. So if you're already a unit training chair, in theory, you should have already have communication with them. And I recommend starting at the 90-day mark. And then if they really, really need to, within the last 30 days before it expires, might want to be a little bit more determined with your communication attempts. Hopefully that answers your question. All right. You're very welcome. All right, as Jen showed a little while ago, using the reporting that she showed, we can see the number of registered leaders within each unit that are getting close to expiring or that have already done so. Like she had highlighted, you can see in this 0 to 14 days to expire, there's one person. These would be people that you would be calling probably a little bit more frequently if they get to 0 to 14 days left. But yeah, it all depends on which category they fall into as far as when they expire, as to how severe or how intense you want to be with your communication. All right, as I mentioned, one-on-one messages work best. In-person, emails, text, those kind of messages work the best. And it's a great way to meet other leaders and parents. I have on the screen a sample email, and it's more personal than sending a blanket message to everybody in the unit saying, hey, this is the trainings that are missing. It's good to be encouraging and try not to be overwhelming. I would recommend doing something to say, hey, by the way, you have a little bit of training left to do, not, hey, by the way, you have like 3 weeks of training that you need to do in the next 2 days. That might be a little overwhelming. I don't recommend it. Using language like I have in the little excerpt is a great idea. Sorry, my screen is pinging off the wall on another screen. I recommend rerunning reports periodically. Set yourself up a schedule that works for you and your unit. Some of the examples that Jen showed a little while ago, you could see that a lot of the leaders in their units were already trained. And if they're consistent, then it's not as important to rerun a report every month if they're looking like they're on track and they don't have an expiration for quite a while. Just getting to know your unit in particular and what your needs are, that will help you set a schedule that works for you. I recommend when you do run those reports for your unit, post the information for those to see. Especially if you've got a new training that's completed, celebrate that. It also encourages others to complete training. And if you have particularly if you have the ability to celebrate that in front of the scouts, letting them know that their leaders are continuing with their training And it does encourage them to continue on with what they're doing as well. So it does go full circle. And a very important thing is this is not about perfection. It's about steady progress. You're going to end up with those leaders and volunteers that are a little bit more challenging to get in touch with, a little bit more challenging to convince that they need to complete training. That's understandable. Your job is not necessarily to hold their hand while they do it. It's just to keep them abreast of what's going on and keep reminding them and be consistent. All right, so where do we find training opportunities? Now, on the screen, you'll see council website, newsletter, and email, or district calendar, newsletter, and email. And the the picture that I chose is also Facebook. You'll be amazed at the amount of information that is put out at the council level, district level, and other neighboring councils and districts. So I want you to recommend paying attention to the council website. By the way, our team has a living training document that you can get that actually to share information that's taken from the council calendar, and it's updated a few times a year. Thank you very much, Nicole. The district calendar is emailed from the district chair. There's council newsletters or emails, and there's simple ways that you can promote training. You can share the links in the leader group chats or emails. Mention upcoming courses that at committee meetings. Give advance notice so people can plan to attend. I can't say that enough. Make sure that you're reminding the people in your unit, oh, by the way, you are signed up next month to go to such and such training. I have 4 people going to IOLS in a couple weeks, and I reminded them last weekend and they almost forgot. Think of yourself as a helpful reminder system, not a nag. And batch up your communication. Instead of sending lots of messages, send one clear update with everything they need. I don't know if everybody sees the chat, but Nicole added it to the later slide, a QR code that you'll be able to scan for that live calendar update. All right. So we're going to wrap it up with a few best practices. I'm going to hand this on over. Nicole?
Sorry, Tim, I thought the next 2 slides were yours.
Hold on, I thought. Wait a second, did I?
Okay.
Yes, you're right. They are.
Okay.
I forgot.
Little
right.
panic there.
No. You're good. You're good. All right. This is some tips and tricks, things that I have found that help. Pick whatever tracking method is going to work and stick to that tracking method. Make sure it's well known to the rest of your people in your unit. Regular check-ins. Check in with your unit, check in with the members in your unit as much as you can, but keep it regular so that they can expect it. If people in your unit know that on the second Tuesday of every month you're going to reach out and you're going to talk to them about training, they come to expect it and they come to appreciate it. I said it before, I'll say it again, celebrate your trained leaders. By encouraging them with the celebration, you help them to feel more pride in what they've done. And also it does show your scouts the effort that they're making. Thank everybody for the completed training and make it personal. And I said it a few moments ago, people respond better to individual outreach instead of mass emails. This one is real important. Success in this position is reliant on a circle of communication. The path begins with you, travels through the unit and its members, and ultimately to the committee chair where it begins again. It's a never-ending cycle of communication when it's successful. So I want you to remember to keep the committee chair in your unit informed. Ask for support when needed. It's a family policy of ours and our family, and I like to share it a lot. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. So if you need help, ask for it. The people on this call are going to be there to help you anytime. Don't think that you have to gain perfection. Progress is more important. No one unit is going to be 100% trained all the time. By having improvement, that is success. And now
Now
I
it's
can
my
hand it
turn.
over to Nicole.
Thanks, Tim. There's actually 2 questions in the chat for you, Tim. First one is, how involved should a unit training chair be for a troop in the training of unit merit badge counselors?
In my personal opinion, once the unit training chair finds out that there's a need, they can start, if they happen to know people in the unit that are interested or have a flair for those particular merit badge subjects, they can step in and they can invite or make inquiries. They're not going to necessarily need to hold the hand of the individual, but showing them where the specific training is for merit badges, for a merit badge counselor, and also letting them know the process to submit the application. Those are 2 very easy processes. I should know, I just did it for myself. But other than that, I think that finding merit badge counselors for the unit should be something that the committee chair and the leader of the unit, Cub Master or Scoutmaster, or and actually in this case it would be just Scoutmaster. They would help find people to fill those positions either in the unit or get them in touch with people outside of the unit for it.
And I'll add
Tim,
to that. So once somebody's, go ahead, Jen.
Go ahead, Nicole.
So once a merit badge counselor is trained, this is assuming that they're not in another position within the unit that requires other training for that position. If they're strictly a merit badge counselor, they only need to have their safeguarding youth training and the merit badge counselor training. And the merit badge counselor training doesn't expire. So once they have that, then it's up to them to be able to present on whatever merit badge they're actually counseling for. So there really isn't a whole lot to it once they've taken that initial training, except for making sure they have the safeguarding youth. And technically, they don't even have to have it if there are other people in the room at the same time, as long as you have that 2 deep leadership that's required of safeguarding youth. That merit badge counselor doesn't have to have that. So yes, you want to make sure they are trained, but it's not the same level as your active unit members. Jen, you had something you wanted to add as well?
I was just going to mention that merit badge counselor is not a unit level registration. It's at the district level. So when you look at your training reports, as a unit member, you're not going to see those registrations and whether they've completed that merit badge training. That would be a question for the district or council. And I think they've at times required that you show proof that you've completed the training before they'll even process your initial registration. So hopefully all of those MBCs have done that online training.
Thanks, Jen. Tim, another question for you. Same question regarding training of youth leaders. For youth, isn't the training of youth leaders the responsibility of the Scoutmaster?
Yes, it is a responsibility of the Scoutmaster, but keeping your ear to the unit, letting them know of things you've heard in discussions does not hurt. So while it is the responsibility of the Scoutmaster to take the training of the youth leaders into their purview, it doesn't hurt to let them know that you found out about this or that.
Thank you. And yeah, promoting trainings, especially trainings that we have going on in the council to our youth, such as NYLT, National Youth Leadership Training, ILST, things like that. Promoting that is definitely still a responsibility of the unit training chair. You are 99% of what you do is with the adult leaders in your unit, but making sure that your youth are aware of that is important as well. And then the last question in there is, you haven't mentioned the role of the advancement chair. Tim, do you want to take that one as well?
Okay, I have to ask, in what regards as far as the advancement chair? Because the advancement chair does have a lot of responsibilities.
If you want to come off mute, John, you can do that and ask your question.
Yeah, you can come off mute and ask the question instead of typing it. Regarding merit badge counselor. Okay, so the advancement chair in regards to a merit badge counselor, when I became a merit badge counselor, I opened the door by communicating with our advancement chair, discussing it, finding out what the needs are, what I have to offer, and then we talked about that from there. Sorry, my screen just changed when you took over, Nicole.
Yeah, I realized I should have done that because now mine's trying to refresh.
No problem. So, yes, if you happen to have somebody that is interested in a merit badge counselor, I highly recommend getting them in a conversation with the advancement chair to start the ball rolling and go in that direction as far as filling out the paperwork, taking the course, and also making sure that everybody's aware that you are available in that merit badge counselor capacity.
Okay. Thank you, Tim, and thank you all for all the great questions so far. Keep them coming. Okay, so one other responsibility of the unit training chair is to ensure that we're recognizing our adult leaders who are fully trained. There are train leader awards for our unit leaders, including den leader training awards, scouter training awards, and scouters keys. You can find the training and the tenure requirements for each of these awards by clicking on the specific links. And I have the link to where it is. It's on scouting.org/training, and then actually I cut that off. But if you search Scouting America Training, just make sure you're going to scouting.org, and it will bring you to that training page, and then you'll be able to go to the training awards page from there. And so each of those links on there that you can see in the middle under training awards and recognition, there are links on each one that show you the requirements as well as the tenure, and each of those are actually the applications for the recognition as well. These awards are generally given at district award recognition events, but they can be awarded throughout the year. So we actually just got a request in our district to have one presented at a PAC annual meeting. So we're going to be doing that. We've got that submitted, and our team is actually going to go out and present that during their PAC training meeting. But I will say, even if it is awarded at your district recognition banquet, and Tim mentioned this previously, your youth should see that your adults do care about this program and that they are trained. So even if they get it at the award at the district banquet, it's a great idea to bring that back to your unit and award that at a court of honor or a PAC meeting or something like that, so that the whole unit can see it. Because usually it's a small number of people from each unit that are at the council, or I'm sorry, at the district recognition banquet. So being able to let your whole unit see that, it's not bragging, it's really about showing that you care about the program and that you want it to be the best it can be for our scouts, and that you've taken those required trainings to make sure that that's what it's going to be. So Tim mentioned it, and I said in the chat, I didn't tell Tim, I added this last minute. This is a document that I put together a couple years ago, and the next page has a QR code on it, so you can scan that directly from there if you'd like. So it's updated a couple times a year. This is not gospel. Things change. I take it off of the council website. So what you see on here, I know it's very small, but what you're seeing here is basically the first section is what's required to be a trained leader within Cub Scouts. And then the next section is for Scouts BSA, and the final one I think is district. So what those do is it talks about, it mentions the hazardous weather, it mentions Cub Master and Scoutmaster specific training, Den leader training. So it lets you know, and it also tells you if they are online trainings that you can do on my.scouting or if they're in-person trainings. So if they're in-person trainings, that's when we go to the next page, and here's the QR code that you're welcome to scan if you'd like. So that shows, because if there is a training you need, say you want to take Baloo, you can go on the council website and everything is on there and all the detail, then that's what you should actually use. That's your gospel. That's your gold standard there. So you do need to use the council website. This is just meant to be a quick reference, because if you need Baloo, otherwise you're going to be scanning through, you're going to be looking at the April calendar and the May calendar and the June calendar, and you're going to be looking for that, trying to find when that's being held. Whereas you can look at this and you can see that it's being held May 2nd to 3rd at Camp Sewell and September 12th to 13th at Sand Hill. So you can see at a glance, and again, those could change, both dates, locations, like everything could change because I only update this a few times a year. But at least this gives you a quick reference as to where you can go look. Then you can say, okay, there's a Baloo coming up in a couple weeks. So we're going to take that, and then you go to the council calendar from there. And the council calendar is linked on both of these pages for your reference. So you can go there and then you can get all the details. So it's really just a quick reference guide for you to easily see when the next trainings are coming up. So feel free to utilize that if it's something that will help you. So there are a couple big council level trainings coming up that we want to, over the next few months, and I want to go ahead and share some of those with you as well. So we have, this is a whole council training weekend coming up. It's May 1st through the 3rd at Sewell. And this has IOLS, which is your Introduction to Outdoor Leader Skills. And that one's going to be all 3 days. So it's going to be Friday through Sunday. We have Baloo, the Basic Adult Leader Outdoor Orientation, which is going to be 2 days, just Saturday and Sunday. And then ILST, which is for our youth, it's Introduction to leadership training for scout troops. And that one is a 1 day Saturday only. So highly encourage you to go to this. That's what Tim was just saying. I think you said you had 4 people from your unit that are going to be going to some of these trainings over that weekend. So it's going to be a great weekend. It's lots of fun. Unfortunately, our whole team is out of town that weekend. So our team, the 3 of us here, unfortunately can't be at that training, but there are awesome leaders heading that up. So please sign up for that. Just go to the council calendar and you can choose whichever one of those courses you want to sign up for. We also have, as we mentioned, it is our responsibility to make sure that youth are aware of trainings specifically for them. So you saw the ILST on the previous one, the council training weekend. The NYLT, or National Youth Leadership Training, is coming up from July 10th to the 12th and July 17th to 19th. So it's a 2-part course. They do have to go to both parts of that, but it's an amazing course. If you don't have youth that have been to that, highly recommend sending them. They do have to be first class and over 14 years old. So they are going to learn leadership skills. They're going to learn communication skills. They're going to learn dealing with difficult conversations, managing expectations. They're going to learn so many different things. These youth are going to come back as, you're not going to recognize them. They're different people when they come back, in a good way, in a very good way. It's absolutely amazing. So highly recommend sending them to that course. And then we do offer a second one of those each year as well. And the other one is generally December 26th to 31st. So this one's a 2-weekend course, otherwise a solid week, usually over most kids' school holidays. And then the other big course that we have coming up for the council is our Wood Badge course, which is our adult leadership and communication course. And that one is October 23rd to the 25th and November 7th to 8th. And that one, again, it's just like NYLT, it's 2 weekends. You do have to go to both weekends to be fully trained on that. And if you saw, I'm sorry, I didn't mention it, each one of these also had QR codes on them. So you can scan those QR codes to get directly to those, or you can, all of them are on the council website. So you can go to the website as well. So Wood Badge, similar to NYLT with what I said about the leadership communication, and you do come back a changed person. It really, you learn so much. And honestly, with with MYLT as well, but Wood Badge it's technically it's a corporate level training. It's just held in a scouting and a camping environment. And our assistant scoutmaster for program, actually his company is paying for him to attend our course. They're giving him the time off to do it as well, not counting it against his PTO or anything like that. So companies find it worthwhile because you're not only using these skills in scouting, you're using them in your everyday life, you're using them at work. Our youth in MYLT, they're using them at school, and you're getting much more than just additional scouting skills in these couple courses, which these are the ones that we wanted to point out because of that, because they're not specific. All of the others that we have, the additional ones like climbing and swim and all of those, very important, worthwhile trainings. They're just much more specific. The ones that we pointed out here are council level trainings that are much more general and apply to everything anybody does at any level in scouting. So we wanted to share those couple with you. Okay. So what questions do you all have about the unit training chair position? And I realized, Tim, I think when it converted, that's why my other link wasn't there. It changed it because my M, I promised my M was on the same line. So I think when it changed formats, I think it changed it a little bit. So if anyone needs any of the links, if you didn't get the QR code or anything like that, let us know. We can send that over to you. Okay, who has the first question? I know we asked a few throughout, and it sounds like I've been hearing some pinging. I haven't seen them. Are there any on there, Tim or Jen, that we need to answer?
April has a question about drive safely being a required course for a troop leader. I have not heard that within our council. It is optional at nationals level. I think some councils do require that. I don't know if Nicole, you have heard differently.
I have not heard that as a requirement in our council. No.
There is a new range and target online training that is required for units that are going to do those activities. It's different than the training that's required to actually be on the range. But when units go to those activities, at least one unit one leader that is present from that unit at that range and target activity does need to have taken that training.
Any other questions that haven't been answered in the chat already? Tim, you're muted if you're talking.
Of course, I'm talking with a muted mic. Nicole didn't see my little jab and message there. I said, I hear that they're going to have some really cool leadership at that Wood Badge course coming up.
Yeah, so that's what I mentioned at the beginning. I'm course director for the Fall Wood Badge course. That's my course. And as you can see, we might have a little bit of a Dr. Seuss theme going on there. We're going to have a little bit of fun. So the leaders will grow. So yes, and then Jen will also be on staff. She's our quartermaster for the course. So a couple people from here in Suncoast, and we have staff from across the council, and we have some really, really good leaders. So hope to see everyone there. And please feel free to share that information. The registration just opened, I think, two weeks ago. So love to have have a nice full course there and get some more leaders trained.
David pointed out that the QR code in the presentation was a little bit blurry, so I sent a link to the Google Docs in chat, so you can actually pull it up through there, and that QR code is nice and crisp on that Google Docs. So
thanks, Tim. And you sent the PDF version, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you all for the great questions. I know there were quite a few of them in the chat, and I know some were answered there. If you do think of any additional questions after tonight, you can email us at the email that's on the screen, the suncoasttrainingteam@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to help. Don't forget to reach out to I know we have a few people from some other districts here besides Suncoast, so you can reach out to us as well, but feel free to reach out to your own district training chair as well. And thank you all so much for taking the time out of your evening to join us and learning more about what the unit training chair role is. And thank you to Jim and Jim. Wow, I just combined you two's names, Jen and Tim, for the many hours that you've put into putting this training together. And we hope that tonight gave you a little bit more insight into the tools and the resources available to you as a unit training chair, as well as your responsibilities as a chair. If you know someone who wasn't able to join us tonight, or if you want to watch the recording of tonight's webinar as reference in the future, you can view that. We have a Suncoast Training Team YouTube channel now. It's at Suncoast Training Team, and we'll have this video posted in there in the next few days or so. And our first webinar, how to recruit a unit training chair, is also on that channel. So thank you again for joining us, and have a great evening. Good night.
Hey, good job, guys. Really appreciate it. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Good job, everyone.
Thank you.